So today we're going to do the final power rankings of this split for the 3 different leagues, and we're going to do the playoff predictions for the Pacific region as well, as their playoffs start in a couple of days. We will also make a video for the playoff predictions for EMEA and the Americas League as well, of course, when it's all kind of wrapped up and we know who's in the playoffs. But let's dive straight into it, and we will start with Pacific. But just before we do that, we're first going to talk about the Gosu Academy and how they're going to help you get better at Valorant today. And for the first 50 of you who use the code TMV at checkout, you will get the first month for free. So here's what that potential free month of coaching looks like. You're going to get access to coaching from top tier coaches of Valorant, but not only that, you're also going to get access to their 10-man sessions as well, which I think are very, very important and crucial at this time for your premier games, because unlike your ranked games where people won't be coming and stuff like that, your daily 10-mans with Gosu Academy, you will be getting into games where there is good comms, where there are people properly trying and not throwing your games. And that's obviously what you will want to foster a similar environment to your Premier games as well. So if you want to really do well in Premier, and obviously playoffs are coming up, then this is probably the best way of doing it, because you'll end up in 10-man sessions where it's going to be much more similar to your Premier games than an average ranked game will be. And with access to the coaching sessions and those daily 10-mans as well, you will get better at Valorant and you will have a better chance of winning your Premier games overall. So go and join the Gosu Academy, and remember, for the first 50 people using the code TMV, it is free for a month. So it's a month free of coaching whilst this is going on and whilst your Premier games are happening, and it's going to be a more enjoyable experience and you're going to get better at Valorant as well. So sign up using the link in the description down below or in the pinned comment, and thanks to Gosu Academy for sponsoring the video. So this is how my Pacific power rankings ended up looking here. Obviously, this 5th column here is just the results of where all the different teams finished. Some teams I got pretty right. Other teams were kind of a lot more up and down. Perhaps the biggest change and biggest shock was Gen G here, who I had second pretty much the whole way throughout and was feeling really good about. And then they ended up finishing in 6th. Now, when I made this last prediction last time, Gen G had lost to DRX, and then they just lost their first game after that, okay? So they'd lost another game, and I thought, okay, Gen G, I'm willing to give you one bad week, right? Okay, you played DRX, you actually won a map, and then you had one bad week. I was willing to let that slide, and then they lost and lost and lost again as well, and they narrowly scraped into playoffs thanks to Paper Regs beating RRQ, and so yeah, Gen G was one that, I mean, wow, what an absolute turn. Another team that I got pretty wrong and it's all over the place is T1, right? I had T1 not doing well in my early predictions, and then jumping up and then down and then up again at the very end there, as T1 seemed to have come on definitely towards the end of the split, and definitely were a lot better than I expected coming out of lock-in. And so here is the playoff bracket. We've got Zeta Division playing Team Secret, T1 playing Gen G. The winners go on to play DRX and Paper X. The losers obviously come to the losers bracket. And we'll start with our first game, Zeta Team Secret, which I think will be a close game. The first time that these two teams played, it was a fairly close 2-1 Zeta Division win, where all maps were kind of 13-9, 13-10, right? This kind of, game where these two teams are pretty close, and I would expect kind of the same, but I do expect a similar sort of result as well, where Zeta Division, I'm going to say, will win 2-1 over Team Secret. That's kind of how I see that playing out. For T1 versus Gen G, I mean, obviously, Gen G have been on a massive slide. They've lost their last 5 games in a row. They've managed to win 2 maps during that time, but every other map that they've lost, they haven't won more than 8 rounds in any of those games. They're on a massive, massive slide, and I do think that T1 on the whole, yeah, they didn't manage to beat DRX or whatever, but I do think on the whole, there's an upward trajectory there. I think that they will feel confident in this game, and Gen G are just on a massive, massive slide. So, of course, I have to go for T1. Now, I'm not going to waste your time too much with these ones, because I do think that DRX and Paper Regs are just the better teams. And I do think that T1 have a potential to win this game. I do think there is hope here for T1 to potentially win this game. But there isn't hope for Zeta Division to beat DRX, and I do think that Paper Regs will still be able to beat T1, though I do think it could be close. So yeah, I'm just going to go DRX and Paper Regs. That would leave us with the lower rounds looking like this, where T1 would play Team Secret and Zeta Division would play Gen G. Now, again, if I've got Gen G losing to T1, that means they've lost 6 in a row. And yeah, I just can see the slide continuing where Zeta Division, you know, are able to beat a Gen G that keeps falling and, you know, continues to fall. And then we've got T1 versus Team Secret. Now, again, I think that this one could be close, but on the whole, what we've seen thus far, again, I do think that T1 would be the better team there and would make it to the lower round 2. In the upper final, we got DRX versus Paper Rex here, where I foresee that DRX would be able to beat Paper Rex, much like they did the first time that those two teams played. I know I'm not shocking anyone by picking DRX to win there. But then we'd come to T1 versus Zeta Division, and this game would decide who is that third team going to Tokyo. At this point, Paper Rex, DRX, they would already be there. But now we'd get T1 and Zeta Division to see who would potentially come out on top there. Now, these two teams didn't play that long ago, and T1 managed to win 2-1 with a very dominant performance on the final map of Bind. And so, you know, it looks like T1 would be the favorite for this game against Zeta Division here. But, you know, of course, I have to pick what the heart wants. And what the heart wants is Zeta Division to go to Japan, because that's, of course, what we all want to happen. Sorry, T1 fans. Sorry, T1. It's really got nothing to do with you, T1. You're probably the better team. You probably will win that game. But I just want Zeta Division to win. And so predict what you want to happen. And that's what I want to happen. And you know what? I'm going to say Zeta Division even beat Paper Rex. Don't know why. But at this point, they'll just be happy going to Japan. Paper Rex might be like, well, if we win, we're losing to DRX anyway, so who cares? Right? They troll this game. Zeta managed to win it. And then DRX beat Zeta Division there. That's going to be my playoff predictions for Pacific. I know I'm not like going crazy off the rails with DRX and Paper Rex making it. But Zeta Division, let's go. Let's get Zeta to Tokyo. And yeah, let's all have a fun time with doing that. And now let's come to the EMEA ranking. And for those of you who don't know, this is what the EMEA leaderboard currently looks like. Obviously, Fnatic and Navi are locked into the top 2 spots at this point. And Liquid, Giants, and Foot have all made playoffs. In fact, there is only a way for BBL, Vitality, and Heretics actually are the only teams that can make this final spot. But Heretics have a lot to happen for them to be able to make it. So really, it's between BBL and Vitality most likely for that final spot. And that's really all there is to play for at this time. And so really the EMEA leaderboard, I think, here in the power rankings is actually fairly simple to do for quite a lot of the teams. Obviously, we're going to put Fnatic and Navi up at the top. But honestly, I think Team Liquid have solidified themselves as the third best team as well. They did lose to BBL's Ascent, but they're not the first team to lose to BBL's Ascent. So I will let them off somewhat there, but they did still win the game. And I think that, yeah, they are probably pretty clearly, I think, the third best team right now. I mean, they almost challenged Navi, obviously, with a sub as well. So, you know, maybe you could even argue that they might be fighting for second place there. But I'm happy to put them in third for now. And honestly, Giants as well, I'm still kind of happy to put in fourth. This kind of 4th to like 7 spots is kind of like up for grabs. You could put these teams in a lot of different orders potentially. But I think that Giants over the course of the season have shown the most. And so I am willing to put them in 4th place. Now let's get the bottom teams out of the way. And unfortunately, I think Carmine Corps are returning back to their 10th place spot. Just because, I mean, they played Fnatic, so, you know, it's not like a travesty to get, you know, 2-0'd by Fnatic or whatever. But just, it seems like, you know, they had that little bounce back week where they managed to win a game. And obviously, they played Navi close the first time that they brought in Zation or whatever. But since then, it seems to have fizzled out a bit. And actually, the same is somewhat true for Heretics, who did manage to obviously win a game with Weber, but then last week they lost to Koi. So again, kind of reluctantly, I am going to put Koi in 8th spot, although I kind of don't really want to. And then we have BBL, Foot, and Team Vitality. Now, Foot are the solidified 5th place team. Or well, they can move up or down, but, you know, they're in the playoffs, whereas BBL and Vitality aren't. And again, perhaps over the course of the season, they have shown a little bit more than those two, so I am willing to put them in 5th, but I think it's all very, very close between these teams. Now, for 6th place, and maybe this will be a bit of a playoff prediction here, we've got BBL and Team Vitality. Now, a part of me thinks that Vitality still have that higher peak, but I do feel like BBL have come on quite a lot. And to be fair, you know, early on in the season, BBL were losing a lot of close games. And, you know, it was all like, oh, they don't deserve to be, what were they, 0-4 or something? It was really, really bad to start. And then they started to actually, you know, play, I guess, teams closer to their level, and they seem to improve, and they were able to just close out some of these maps, not named Descent, and, all of a sudden they found themselves in this position where, they can make playoffs. So I think I am going to put BBL in 6th and Vitality 7th, but I think between probably Foot and Vitality, this is very close, and in terms of a power ranking, you could put them kind of in any order you wanted to. And so here then is the final power rankings for EMEA and how it has all shaken out. Fnatic and Navi obviously staying in kind of their top 2 spots. Some teams I was kind of right about, where, I had Giants here in 4th. Other teams I was very wrong about, like Koi here in 3rd. My Koi hope, particularly when they beat Navi, was through the absolute roof. But you can see it hasn't been a great journey for them. Heretics and Carmine have kind of, been languishing here in the bottom 3 throughout. But BBL have made a steady climb and a steady rise all the way up into 6th place. And that is where they will end here on the EMEA Power Rankings. And finally, here are the Americas rankings here, with Loud and Cloud9 solidified into the top 2 positions. NRG are into the playoffs and currently in 3rd. And then you've got this massive glut of teams that are 4 and 4. All could make playoffs, all could still miss out, I think. And Sentinels could actually still make it as well if they win and things go their way. But then MIBR and Crew, unfortunately, are eliminated. And so let's get into these power rankings, and I think let's start off with what I think is some of the easier ones down towards the bottom here. And again, even though there is a team that still hasn't won a game, I'm still going to put MIBR in 10th place because they just refuse to play any map close. And that to me is a sign that, again, if they did play Crew right now, who obviously I will put in 9th place, that then MIBR would probably lose to Crew right now. I genuinely believe that if those 2 teams played off. So I am going to put MIBR in 10th and Crew in 9th. Sentinels, I am still going to put in 8th. Yes, they did manage to win another game. But I still think that on the whole, they haven't shown enough to warrant being anything higher than 8th place. Now let's go to the top of the board, because again, I think this middle pack is very, very difficult to separate and probably depends on exactly, your individual thoughts on these teams. But these 3 teams are clearly the top 3, Loud, Cloud9, and NRG. The order that I'm going to put them in is I'm still going to put Cloud9 number 1. I mean, every game that they play just looks flawless, to be honest. They just play such good Valorant, it must be said, and really, obviously by this point everyone's kind of knows that, but it still is unbelievable how they've managed to get to this point. Like, it still is absolutely unbelievable that they've managed to do that whatsoever, but they have, so congrats to them, I guess. And yeah, they will be number 1. And then I think there's a real interesting debate between Loud and NRG as to who to put to 2nd and 3rd. Now, NRG obviously did just beat Loud. And so you might just make the argument, well, NRG just beat Loud, so put NRG above Loud. And that makes perfect sense. But then I know that Loud fans, will probably be like, well, actually, Loud had nothing to play for. They didn't change anything. NRG had everything on the line. Loud had nothing on the line. And so, Loud just didn't change anything and probably weren't even really that bothered about this game and therefore didn't really care. And Loud are actually, if you look across the whole season, clearly the better team, all that kind of stuff, yada, yada, yada. I'm personally big on NRG. Ever since they changed the roles, I looked at the way that they played and I just thought, yep, this looks like a team that is going in the right direction. And even though Loud, yes, might be saving strats and, might not be fully trying for these games, and I perfectly agree with that and think that that is the case, I still have some worries about parts of their map pool that I'm not quite sure how they will solve, right? And how they will change it. And so I'm going to put NRG in 2nd and I'm going to put Loud in 3rd, because I am still a bit worried about Loud sometimes that, particularly if Aspas, like he did against NRG, has a bit of a quiet game, I'm worried whether they can actually, if they have enough depth in their map pool and their strats, to see if they can come out on top in those kind of games. I still think that they'll make Tokyo, but I am a little bit concerned. And then we come to this middle 4. And this middle 4 obviously is kind of generally who's going to be in playoffs is kind of the determining here. I can't really believe I'm going to do this, but I am going to do this. I'm going to put EG in 4th because I think EG deserve to be in 4th. They've looked convincing in their last couple of games. They've won their last 3. And yeah, they look like a good team. Now, they do play against NRG, which is not going to be easy. They have one of the tougher games between all of these different teams that could make playoffs. So that is going to be very, very tough, no doubt. But they are playing like the best of these teams, I think, right now. And so I think that they do deserve that fourth spot. Now, 100 Thieves just beat Furia. Again, it was a close game between 100 Thieves and Furia. And so I want to keep these two teams together, therefore. And so it comes down, really, where do you put Leviathan? Now, Leviathan, after beating Crew, it seemed like, yep, this team is, they're back. They look good again. Let's go. And then they got absolutely smacked by Cloud9. And to be honest, even if they had lost 2-0 against Cloud9, but it had been close, I probably would be putting them in 5th or something. But they got absolutely destroyed by Cloud9. And it makes me worry. Because they play Loud next. And that makes me worry quite a lot for Leviathan. That they might be the team that misses out here by losing to Loud, because EG beat Leviathan, so they have the tiebreaker if it comes to head-to-head EG if they lose to NRG as well. So I'm going to put 100 Thieves in 5th, Furia in 6th, and Leviathan in 7th place, given how I think that they are playing right now. And so here is the final version of the Americas Power Rankings, and there's been some change. I'm seeing Sentinels up in 4th, and I'm going, what was I thinking? We've seen NRG go on this like steady little decline and then rise back up. Kind of neat and nice here for NRG. I did have Cloud9 at 10th at the start. To be fair to me, before you go criticizing Cloud9 in 10th, I didn't know who the 2 players that they were signing at that point were, to be fair. They only had 3 players on the roster when I made this first prediction one. So, if they were only playing with 3 players, I do think even though those 3 players are very good, they would have struggled a bit. And so, yeah, this is how it's all gone down. Leviathan, look at the fall from grace here for them. Starting up 3-2-2 and then, woof, 7-7. Yeah, it's been a pretty sharp decline for Leviathan in terms of these power rankings as well. But this is the final order of things. And EG as well. Big rises here. It started off not so great, but then up they go and up they go again. And so that was my final power rankings. As I said, we will do a predictions video for both the EMEA and America's playoffs. So when the time comes, that we get the results from those leagues and whatnot. But thank you all for watching. If you disagree with the power rankings, I don't really care. You're going to have your own opinion. It's fine. It's cool. Don't worry about it. Chill out. And thank you for watching.